you have agreed 3 conditions with the environmental health, and they are the first 3 conditions on the report, and they are to do with noise attenuation, because there were some concerns with regard to noise from representations made. So that said, could you confirm that the music is incidental music, and that the sound bleed will not be coming out into the street, because subcommittee members and myself, I'm sure, will have noticed that it is a single skin door. There's no double entrance lobby, which often mitigates the noise on entry. So, Mr. Hollington, could you advise as to the fact that this is just background music for diners? Thank you.
Yeah, that's confirmed. Incidental background music.
Thank you very much. The other question was with regard to covers. I did ask for a plan because a plan wasn't initially sent. I hope that the other subcommittee members now have a plan which was sent through, which gives a plan, Councillors Dion and Johnson, of the premise. And there is a lower ground floor and there's a ground floor. The ground floor, it looks like you have 12 covers, and the lower ground floor is 22. Could you confirm that, please, or is this just illustrative, because often these plans are?
Yes, that's correct. That's what we've shown on the drawing. So
you'd have 12 covers. That's not 12 tables. You'd have to have 12 diners on the ground floor, or the first accessible floor, and up to 22 diners on the second floor underneath. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. Right. Okay. I noticed that you have table and chairs outside, or a picnic bench, and I just wanted to ask the outside. You also state about the outside area. Where is the outside area? Is this what you're pertaining to? This is street, isn't it? This is pavement. This isn't within the curtilage of the building.
That's right. That's not part of this application. We would seek further down the line to apply for a separate pavement licence. I'm not sure why there shouldn't be a bench externally shown. It's all internal.
Actually, you've actually got it written in your conditions that you will bring any out. I may not be referring to this particular area, but it says that you agree to, with the environmental health, that you agreed that you would bring in. I'm just trying to find it. Of course, would be the last thing I find. You would bring in the table and chairs at, I think, 10 o'clock each evening, and I just wondered where were the table and chairs and where was the outside area?
There's a wider pavement in front of the curtilage of the building, but that's not part of this application. Maybe that's a road standard condition that's been agreed to.
Okay, well, we need to drill down into this, Mr. Hollington, with respect. I've got all tables and chairs, and I asked subcommittee members if they'd reference it with me, please. I make it F, where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the 6th condition down on page 10 of the report. And at F, or 6, it says all tables and chairs shall be removed from the outside area by 2200 each day. If you have no licence for outside furniture, why was that agreed? That doesn't seem to make sense.
No, it should be admitted, really. I mean, maybe it's a new point if there was going to be a provision for external furniture.
Okay, and again, there's a reference to an outside area. If you technically don't have an outside area, then would number 7 also fall, because it says no food or alcohol shall be served in the outside area after 1200 hours. Okay.
There's no outside area.
So we'll bear those two in mind with regard to those 2 particular conditions. That's fine. Yes, no further questions with regard to that. Sarah, do you have any questions for Mr. Hollington?
Only just going back to the application for the recorded music, and you've confirmed it's for incidental background music only. Well, for those purposes, it doesn't need to be licensed if it's at a background level. So just the question being, why was it applied for? Because obviously that will be a higher level.
Yes,
we're applying for incidental music. That's what we're looking for. If I filled the forms correctly, that's what we're seeking to gain consent for.
I see. Right. Okay. But Linda, would you explain what the applicant has actually applied for to the applicant, please. The difference between just background incidental music, which doesn't need a license, to recorded music played in a different attribute, which does. If you could explain that to the applicant, please. Linda?
Sorry, I was just finding the mute button.
Linda,
I apologise.
Thank you, Linda.
Yes, that no license is needed for incidental background music. You can play recorded music under the Live Music Act anyway, but that would be allowed. And again, you wouldn't need a license actually for that either. If the music is being played to an audience of less than 500 and it's before 11 o'clock, so it's a bit mute really in this application. The applicant has stated that his intention is only to have incidental music, not to be playing proper recorded music. The Live Music Act allows you to play live music, even play live music, have recorded music up to 11 o'clock and to an audience of less than 500. But you've just got to take from what he's said that he's confirmed on this application. His plan is to only have incidental background music. Hope that helps.
Yes, that does help indeed. So, Mr. Hollington, did you understand that actually you probably didn't need to apply for that if you only intended to imply incidental music, because there's concern from some of the representations that were made that music might bleed into the street. If it's incidental background music, that's unlikely. But we'll leave that obviously a matter for you. OK, so we just raised it. Linda, thank you for that explanation. I'm most grateful. Just to pop back to subcommittee members, any questions now with any of the information that Mr. Hollington has advised us of? Councillor Johnson?
Not from me, Chair. The only one that I had, you have actually covered. So.
Yes, I thought I was asking quite a few on behalf of the subcommittee rather than people asking them 3 times. Thank you. Councillor Dion.
Yeah, no questions, Chair.
OK, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Hollington. So we did have, thank you very much, yes. We did have a gentleman who was going to come along and make a representation on behalf of other persons, who was Mr. Predith, but regrettably he's unwell today. So Mr. Predith, if you're listening, I do hope that you feel better very soon. So we do have, though, the submissions in front of us, and whether the members wanted to ask any questions of the legal officer or of Sarah with regards to their submissions, you are more than welcome so to do. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. I just had one. Obviously, a pervading theme of the representations is where this place is and the history that this area has with regards to alcohol abuse. But would you perhaps read anything into the fact that there was no representation from any of the responsible authorities into their thinking as to any detrimental effect this application might have? Yes,
Sarah, I think we'll put that question. Could you possibly advise us with regard to that as to the responsible authorities?
Yeah, absolutely. In the absence of any representation from Dorset Police, I would read from that they have no evidence of any crime and disorder that they would be concerned of, the impact of these premises. Obviously, Environmental Health made a representation but agreed the conditions, and we didn't hear anything from the other responsible authorities.
OK, yes, thank you. Thank you for that. That's clear. Councillor Dion, did you have any questions you wanted to raise? It's difficult when the other persons aren't with us, but we do have their submissions. So based on anything that they've said, is there anything that you'd like to raise?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they highlight crime and disorder, the antisocial behavior, and the music and noise. So all those are taken into consideration in their representations, and I've read them. but I don't have any further questions. No.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dion. I'm going to touch on just a few concerns, and there's a few, I think, misunderstandings. In one of the, I think in all of them, perhaps two submissions, there was a concern that there's the late selling of alcohol till 1 o'clock in the morning, when in fact that is a late night refreshment. And if any of the individuals, the other persons are listening, late night refreshment is hot food and drink only. It's not alcohol. So the latest date for the alcohol licence is Thursday to Saturday, which is to midnight. And we've already been advised by Mr. Hollington that alcohol is only served with food. So it's not a case of walking in and buying a bottle of something and being able to go. It's not off sales, it's on sales only. We've confirmed the covers because I think there were concerns within the submissions that people, there'd be a lot of people and a lot of noise. And I think 12 covers at any given time, just direct access to that street, is not a huge amount of people emanating a huge amount of noise, and not a lot of people coming and going when the music may bleed out onto the street. We ascertained it was a single door, so there is a possibility of that. One thing I did want to check on with actually legal, and I perhaps should have asked this before. There is, in the conditions, there's a written dispersal policy, draft agreed. Have we actually got that yet? I'm sorry, that's a throwback to the last item, but I did want to ask that. Linda?
Chair, I don't know anything about a dispersal policy. Have we received one?
Yeah, no, I don't think
licensing officer may know.
Yeah, it's an agreement within the conditions, Sarah. This dispersal policy is that it's a concern of the people who've made submissions that people will be gathering, smoking outside the premise. And one of the conditions is that there is a dispersal policy in train prior to any licenses being let. And I wondered whether we'd had any draft dispersal policy submitted, or who would agree this dispersal policy? Would it be between the parties, or would it be between us as the licensing authority? Thank you.
We haven't had a draft of the dispersal policy. I haven't seen the dispersal policy. During the course, if it's offered as a condition, then obviously we'd like to see it. It's not so much approved, it's how they will deal with their dispersal. So it's like a risk assessment, if you like. Yeah. And it's something that we would look at during an inspection of the premises, or if there were issues with dispersal.
Okay, thank you very much. That's extremely helpful. So if there are no further questions, it's quite a difficult one because we don't have our other persons here. I would now ask that we sum up regards to the hearing, and I will ask first, as Mr. Pradeeth is not present, I believe I perhaps can sum up on his behalf. The concerns are mainly around the bleeding of music onto the street, the late serving of alcohol till 1 o'clock, and that is not in fact happening. It's a hot food and drink only, and a general concern about antisocial behaviour, but we are advised that the police did not deem it necessary to make specific representation because they did not feel that was the case. So I hope that helps with regard to those people who've put submissions in. So Mr. Hollington, if you'd like to sum up, please, on your behalf. Thank you. On behalf of your applicant, thank you.
Yes, the operators and the applicants are seeking consent to operate a seafood restaurant with limited low-level background music. They're looking to be part of the community there. They are experienced operators. And we're looking forward to working with the licensing department, and we'll take on board the conditions that come across.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hollington. And Sarah, would you like to sum up? Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, there's nothing further I'd like to add. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to ask if all parties are content that they've had the opportunity to make representation to the subcommittee. So, Mr. Hollington, that's rather your good self. I hope that you're content that you've been able to say whatever it is you needed to say to the subcommittee. Could I have confirmation of that, please?
Yes, confirmed, yes.
Thank you very much. So I will now conclude the hearing, and we will carry on now to, we will in fact, I think, take a short break. Linda, could I be advised, please, because we do have some issues with regard to the next hearing, which we need to iron out before we start. So would everybody be content to take a short break, members? Yes? Okay, I say short. I think we will allow how long would members like to take? Would 10 minutes be long enough, or 15 minutes? Because 10 minutes, Brian? Okay, we'll take 10 minutes then. So we'll reconvene at 1:45. Is everybody happy? And okay. If Linda and Sarah and Joseph and Joanne, officers, could just stay in the room, but members, if you needed to have a short break, please take the opportunity. Thank you.
So, Chair, just remind me.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. We are now reconvened from our previous meeting, and we now have agenda item 6, and we are hearing Malinka Market, which is 586 to 588 Christchurch Road, Bournemouth, BH1 4BH. And an application has been received from D&B Licensing Consultants on behalf of Mr. Abdullah for a new premise licence for the premise known as above. And the matter is brought before the subcommittee for determination. However, today we've had a very, very late submission from one of the parties, and due to the length and content of that submission, it is in fact from the applicant's solicitor. It has been agreed with the full subcommittee, Councillor Toby Johnson and Councillor Brian Dean, as advised by our legal officers, that we will in fact defer this meeting in order to give everybody time to read this new information, and also to circulate to all interested parties, to those making representation, and to all other parties involved in the hearing, so that they too are able to read this information and reflect upon it for the application. So, Joseph, we will be able to defer this for a later meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so a later date will be agreed with all parties for a later meeting. Thank you. Thank you
very much. My apologies to the members and officers. My special apologies to Councillor Jane Kelly and Mr. Day and all the members of the public who did come and join us today. But we will advise you of the new meeting time as soon as we have it. And we look forward to a better informed meeting then when we can draw our decision. And thank you very much for meeting with us today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And we will now, I will now conclude the meeting.